Good afternoon. I'm Steve Bassnett, and along with Aaron Marsden, I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of CANASA and Security Canada to today's online learning session. I would like to say a special thank you to Panasonic for their support in sponsoring today's session. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Zorn and Rui of Panasonic Canada. Zorn is Panasonic's National Solutions Manager with more than 28 years of experience in the industry. Zorn is well versed in collaborating with dealers and end customers in creating security systems, regardless of their complexity. Rui is Panasonic's National Technical Product Manager. He has a broad depth of experience ranging from advising dealers on complexities related to existing multi-vendor security systems to designing and creating custom products with end customers. Feel free to type any questions you may have during the session into the Q&A window at the bottom of your screen, and they will respond during the Q&A portion roughly 20 minutes from now. I will now turn the session over to Zorn and Rui. Welcome, guys, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, we'll get started. Thanks again, Steve. Pleasant good afternoon to everyone, and thanks to you all for taking some time out of your day to be with us today. As Steve said, I'm Zorn. With me is Rui. We're part of the Panasonic Canada team. We are based out of the Panasonic Mississauga head office. However, of course, coming to you today from our homes. We're going to take turns presenting today, just to give you a little different voice as we go along. So we're going to kind of interrupt each other as we go. With that said, we're going to get started. We're aiming to keep this under 30 minutes. So we're not going to keep you here too long, but we're going to cover a lot of ground. So we're going to just jump right in. Let's see if this works. All right, oops. Okay, so today's agenda. What we're going to cover is the iPro X series artificial intelligence cameras. It's a brand new product line for us. We're going to cover regular analytics. These are analytics that you might be familiar with in today's camera models versus the artificial intelligence cameras analytics, which is far more enhanced. Okay. We're going to cover the iPro X series full features and possibilities and really focus in on the ability to add third-party apps directly to the camera. We're going to talk a bit about integration, because integration, as we all know, is very important, that cameras integrate to various platforms. And then at the end, Steve will jump back on and he will manage the Q&A session. Okay. This is the iPro X series AI camera line. It's 3 different form factors, as you can see: outdoor box, outdoor Vandal dome, indoor Vandal dome, and it comes in 2 different resolutions, in 5 megapixel or 4K. So it's the same 3 cameras, but in 2 different resolutions. And what we're really going to zero in on today is the 3 plugins. And when Rui jumps in, he's going to give video clips of each one to give you a real close-up look at how each of them works. So there's AI VMD, which is more enhanced than a regular VMD that you're used to, AI Privacy Guard, and third-party plugin license. We're going to cover all those in detail. Okay, this is our key features, what we call the iPro value proposition. I'm going to breeze through these quickly, but keep in mind the AI line has made many enhancements to this. So Rui's going to cover those when he does his demo clips. He's going to detail all the additional technologies here. So from left to right, we're going to go Extreme Analytics. We have on the Extreme Analytics side, we have an onboard high-power AI engine, which we're going to cover in detail, as we said. Image optimization, that's really getting the facial detail that in the past might have been very challenging in previous generation cameras. And then, as of course I mentioned, an ability to house third-party apps, which we're going to cover in detail as well. The extreme compression, Current compression is H.265. You add our smart coding feature to that. And what this is the camera studies the scene and it will ignore data packets in non-motion or non-movement areas and will only insert iframes where it sees motion. Okay. So the end result is it's a huge savings in bandwidth and storage. That's under extreme compression. Extreme data security. This is secure communications or an SSL certificate. We partner with a third-party company called DigiCert, and all this is camera encryption. Okay, your camera is protected from hacking, from cyber attacks, from data leakage, from image alteration, things like that. And it's all a standard feature on this entire line of cameras. Very important thing to talk to IT departments about when you're presenting your systems. Extreme visibility, IA, intelligent auto. This is a current feature. This is where the camera studies the scene and it automatically adjusts for things like motion blur or clear exposure of the face, that kind of thing. Your techs in the past had to do this manually. Now the camera does this automatically. Put it up there, and like I said, it studies the scene and does it on its own. AIIA takes it another step, and I'll defer to Rui for that, for full details on that. That's going to be part of his piece. And the last one, extreme reliability. This product is designed and made in our factories. There is no third-party manufacturing partnership or anything like that with this camera line. They go through the same quality control processes as the rest of our product line. And of course, we back it with the full 5-year warranty. You install our camera, you walk away, you forget about it. They'll last you for years. So that's the 5 core technologies. Moving to the next one. This is a little feature we like to talk about on most of our webinars. It's called easy kitting. So some of your techs might like to, when they have a large project, say 50, 60 cameras, they like to program the cameras in your warehouse or in your office. So they pile up the cameras, they got to open up each one, take out the camera, take it to a desk, program it, put it back in the box, try and repackage it and retape it. What easy kitting does, if you look at the images here, the bottom left image, the first one, you'll see a little perforated door at the side of the camera. We call it a kitting window. You punch in that door, and as you see in images 2 and 3, your connection for your cable is right there. So as you see in the number 4, you take your cable, you put it into the door, you plug it in, do your programming with your laptop close by, and just close the door, and you're ready to go. So 50, 60 cameras can take up a lot of time, and with our easy kitting, as you can see, it'll cut the time to next to nothing. So a little feature there with the installer in mind. Okay, so as we said earlier, there's current analytics. These are analytics that you might be used to or you might have seen out in the field, and then there's the advanced analytics, the AI analytics that Rui's going to talk to you about. I'm going to go over this briefly. So as we know, analytics have come a long way in a short time. In the early days of IP, analytics for the most part were attached to a piece of software. It was very expensive. It was really only for that high-end enterprise type client. But in a short period of time, we've come up with ways to load analytics data onto the camera or at the edge, as we call it. So you're looking at our current Edge analytics package. As I said, some of the variations you might already be familiar with. I'm going to run through them quickly. And like I said, Rui's going to jump in later and talk about how they're enhanced on the AI camera. So starting at the top left, intruder detection. So as you can see, draw a box around an area where a person's not supposed to be. If anybody walks into that area, you get an immediate alert. Loitering detection, you set, say, a 1-minute time limit to say nobody's allowed to stand in this area for more than 1 minute. And if they do, you get an alert. Direction detection, as you can see here, one-way streets. If a car goes the wrong way on a one-way street, direction detection will alert you immediately. Bottom left, scene change. That's simply someone takes a baseball bat or a spray paint can to your camera. It gets you alerted immediately that that's happening. Object detection, think about a museum with an expensive painting, draw a box around the painting. Anybody touches that or takes it away out of the boxed area, you get an alert immediately. And the last one is cross-line detection. It's similar to intruder detection, except it's lines instead of areas. So think about a subway platform. Draw a line at the base of the subway platform. If anybody crosses that line, you get an immediate alert. So as I said, these are current analytics that are not uncommon. There's others out there that have things similar. And as I said earlier, being at the edge is far more cost effective than earlier generations of analytics. As a matter of fact, this package is now free. Okay, we give all 6 of these analytics as one free plugin to attach to our cameras. So you have full analytics per selected camera. So you don't use it in cameras where you're not using analytics. Okay. As mentioned, the AI analytics package is far more enhanced than what you see here. This is the base, but Rui's going to jump in to the enhancements on the AI. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Rui, who's going to do a real deep dive into the AI technology, along with a lot of video clips to show as well. So Rui, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you very much, Zoran. So at this point, Zoran's been going through some of our analytics, and you may have used analytics before, but you might be thinking, why do I even need analytics? My cameras are pretty good, and we like to think even our iPro cameras have an excellent image quality. So why do I even need that? For the very simple reason where as your system starts to expand, you just can't watch everything. It's physically impossible to watch something live and monitor every single event that's happening, especially on very large systems. So that's the good, right? I mean, to have a camera with excellent image quality, that is basically a basic step that everyone should have, because without good image quality, basically, even in a reactive manner, you're not going to have any usable video. Better, as Soren just mentioned, of course, getting the cameras to do a little bit for you by having those analytics on the edge, and maybe watch a certain scene where you can draw a trip line, and if somebody goes in over that trip line in a different direction, but it's still not specific to specific objects. So basically, if this is an outdoor camera and you had a zone for loitering, if some reason a pack of raccoons decided to hang out there at night, you might get some false positives, right? But again, still better than just not having anything at all. And then your best. So best with AI technology is basically you're able to now distinguish animals from humans, and even distinguish vehicle types. So distinguish basically a car from like a bicycle or a motorcycle. So that gives you the ultimate flexibility in pinpointing your alerts and getting those cameras on the edge to do most of the work for you. So you don't need to watch your hundreds or thousands of cameras. Here's an example of what our AI engine can do. So you can see here an example of AI VMD that it's actually monitoring a lot of things in the scene. So there's a little motorcycle or bicycle, a vehicle, and human. So it can track multiple targets within the same scene. So we've talked about what's included. So what do you actually get out of the box, right? So you get an AI processor that's built into the camera that's capable of running up to 3 applications. So we've mentioned 2 of them, which is the Privacy Guard and the AI VMD. You also get the AI processor watching the scene. So this is similar to what Zoran mentioned with the intelligent auto, where you just kind of set it and forget it. Basically, the AI will now distinguish objects and what they are, and also and change the encoding of the camera and the exposure and the shutter speed and things like that. Then there's Privacy Guard, where we'll get into. This is kind of hard to explain just from the description, but once you see the video, it'll be self-explanatory. So all of these so far you get out of the box. You also get the third-party application plugin. So there is a license, but we actually included, and all the cameras sold in the Canadian market, all of these plugins are included out of the box. And AI VMD, which gives you this flexibility to have the intruder detection, loitering, cross-line detection, and also direction detection based on the targets that you select. And here is what the image optimization looks like. So on the left here, we have our current S-series 5 megapixel camera, which is great at super dynamic, but what it's doing, it's relying on the light levels that it's receiving to do its judgment of what is important in the scene. So in this case, it might say, okay, I want to kind of achieve an equilibrium of the scene the outside and the scene inside. And it only has basically the light levels that it's receiving to take that into account. This doesn't take into account what the objects are. On the right, it knows that the person, there's actually a person, or in this case, a stand-in for a person standing in the foreground, and it knows that. So basically says, okay, ignore the background and just focus on exposing that the face perfectly. So with even if you're not using any of the plugins that we talked about, just from a simple everyday use for making sure that you're getting that shot and you're capturing that image properly, the AI will continuously do that as well for the encoding and exposure and shutter speed. And also on the right side as well here, we have the AI optimizing the codec. So in case on the top there, you have the same scene without AI, it's about 5.4 megabit per second, because there's a lot of leaves moving in the trees, and even though there was a person there, so it tries to basically do a best fit. And in the bottom scene, it knows that there's a person in there. It's optimizing that area where the person is in for optimal quality, but it's ignoring the leaves in the tree that it's moving and sending that in a more compressed or in a low profile format. So here's some examples in the AI VMD. So first video here, we have a target selected. And the intruder detection in that red zone, and the target is only for humans. So you see a vehicle passes by, there's no action. As soon as you get one actual human in that specific zone, then you get an alert there. Next one on the right, so it's a cross-line detection for humans. And as soon as you're crossing that direction, again, you get the alert. Now this next one is very valuable, especially if you are setting up cameras in front of buildings where, like such as airports or embassies, where it's parking in front for any length of time is just basically restricted, and you constantly have to keep monitoring that situation. So if you set this up in that scenario, if a car passes by, no problem. But if a car stops there within a predetermined amount of time, you then get a loitering detection for that as well. And the next one here is a direction detection, but only for bicycles or motorcycles. So you have a person walking in that direction, there's no problem, but as soon as you get the specific vehicle type they set in your target, you get an alert. So as you can see, it's very flexible in getting the alerts for what you need or what you set for, and ignoring a lot of false positives or any motion in general that is not relevant. And here's the workflow from the camera to basically the operator in the VMS. So example on the left, you have video, you have motion moving, you have vehicles passing by, you have headlights with changing light levels. So there's no action on the camera side. But as soon as basically a person walks up, it'll detect it. It's within the zone. You basically get an action there. The camera will send metadata and alarm data. So metadata being, the size of the object, where it is on the scene, because some of that is relevant for the rules manager, along with the alarm data, basically the alert itself. If it's a watch system, basically you can have immediate response by the staff monitoring. And if it's not a watch system, or even if it is a watch system, VMS action rules. So you can have certain things that are actionable by these specific alarms. So if you had, rules to send emails or turn on lights or turn on sirens or flash or any sort of actions there that can be actioned by the VMS, this is where it becomes really, really valuable to make sure they don't have a lot of false positives and be more certain in your actions. So this is Privacy Guard. So the video on the top is showing a manufacturing setting, and then the video on the bottom will show the exact same thing, but in a more of a retail environment. So we'll focus on the manufacturing one first, and then we'll go to the next one. So in the manufacturing environment, a lot of cases, traditional security cameras are put into a manufacturing, not so much for the security point of view, but more from the monitoring the manufacturing. Like some examples are if you have a big mail facility or a parcel processing plant, or even a manufacturing plant. You basically want to see if there's something, if your assembly line is running smooth, if your machines are running smooth. But in some countries and even some companies' internal policy, you cannot put a camera where you might be watching employees work, where it could be deemed that you're basically using that video to judge their performance. So this basically gives you the best of both worlds. So for a live monitoring feed, we'll call that stream 2. You can monitor the machines, and anywhere there is a person, it'll be automatically masked. And you can do 2 types of masking: either mask out the entire person or just a face. But let's say there's an incident, and you do need to review the video on a secondary stream, in this case stream 1. You can have the video being recorded as is. Okay, so this ticks a lot of boxes in the manufacturing sector, where there are cameras there, but you have to make sure that the employees feel comfortable in their workspace, and they're not being monitored by management or used to be some kind of a performance appraisal. So this is a really good application for scenarios like that. And in the retail sector, in some cases, for the employee behind the counter, you can set that as well for the same reason. But also in some retail markets, they're looking at stocking the shelves and making sure that what is the stock level on the shelves, and what is the what is the store looking like, again, without watching anybody in specific. So that's another application for Privacy Guard. And the third thing is basically this camera is not only an AI camera with some built-in analytics, it has become now a whole new platform for developers. So what we've done with this specific series is there's a completely new SDK for the AI section. So the way it works is we provide the platform and the camera, and we provide the SDK. So any developers are free to basically either adapt their existing analytics or write new analytics to run right on the edge on the camera using our AI processor. So this basically makes it almost limitless to what you can do with AI. So if you can write an application, it can run on the camera. It's been certified and tested by us. It will run with no issues. We have a kind of a development procedure. We'll go through kind of a process and certify it, and then we'll run on the camera. And so basically, if you need something very, very specific that's not in our, not the traditional security application, and not something that we have built in out of the box, you can always run a third-party application. And if you scan the code here on the left with your phone, it'll take you to the AI application platform. So how to basically obtain that SDK if you're interested in developing your own applications. And for a list of third-party application list, you can scan the code on the right, and it will take you to our site to give you the current third-party analytics that are available for this camera. We'll highlight one of the partners, which is the first one to be certified with these cameras, is AI Tech. This is a company out of Italy. So they basically make an all of analytics. So they've adapted their existing analytics and basically made to run on our camera, and things that are obviously not out of the box. So things like smoke detection, vehicle speed and distance, fire detection, and of course the ever popular face mask detection, or maybe lack of face mask detection. Zoran, I'll hand it over to you for this one, then I'll take over from there.
I'm going to do the next few here. Compatibility is a question we always get. Existing, VMSs, a lot of them out there. As you can see on this list, we're fully integrated with Genetec, a lot of your Genetec dealers, and Milestone as well. The one on the left is ours, Panasonic Video Insight platform. So full integration with these models. If there's a partner here that you work with that's not on this list, reach out to myself or Rui, and we'll try to get you an idea of when we might expect this. Sometimes, we're at the mercy of when that partner is doing their next upgrade. So we can't always get them done right away, but we eventually get them done. But for these three right now, we're fully compatible.
Thanks, Zoran.
Yeah. This is, we're coming towards the end now. This is a Panasonic system design tool. This is new to us too. This is cloud-based. It's free to use. There's no downloads. And what this does, it allows you to upload a map of whatever location you're designing and drop into the map our actual individual camera models. You place them anywhere on the map where you plan on mounting cameras, and on the fly, you can adjust the image. Of course, within the parameters of the lens capability of the camera that you've selected. Okay, and if you look to the right, it will self-adjust and show you an image of a face, a license plate, and a person's body, and the image quality at each distance. So when you have that client saying, am I going to be able to see a face, or what am I going to see at this distance? You can say, well, here you go, Mr. Customer. This is what you'll see with this camera, with this lens at this distance. So it's a slick tool. It's really easy to use. Reach out to one of us if you want to run through it. But a lot of our partners have jumped onto this, and it's helped on the design stage, especially those clients that sometimes might have a false sense of what you can see and what you can't see. So take a look at that if you're interested.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I'll just add one more thing here. So if you are interested in seeing what this tool is all about, there is the link in the upper right-hand corner. And if you are interested in a webinar of how to use the tools, there's a step-by-step webinar we've done. You can scan the link on the left-hand side there. And one thing we just added here very last minute, but we're very excited about this. So only for the so exclusive to the participants in today's webinar, please make sure that you've indicated that to share your email contact with us, and we have a very exclusive offer to send you. So stay tuned for that through your email. And I believe Steve has indicated that if for some reason if you've not shared your email contact and you want to make that change, just please give Steve a shout. And he can work with you to get that done. So we're stay tuned for that. We're just putting the finishing touches on this, and we'll be in touch by email. And when we say exclusive, it's only for the participants in today's webinar. So very exciting.
Okay, and that comes to the end of it. So we said 30. You got 27 minutes, which is perfect. Some time for some questions too. This is our sales team across Canada. There's 4 of us. Some of the names you might be familiar with. Reach out to myself or Rui if you want to get connected to anybody on our team. At this time, I'll say thanks to Steve and Aaron and the Canassa group for hosting this for us. We appreciate it. And we're going to pass it over to Steve to read the Q&A questions.
Thanks, guys. That was great. If anyone has any questions, please type them into your Q&A window now, and I'll try not to flub them. Here's our first question. Does the new model X2551LN allow for adjustable optimization in terms of gamma/light exposure?
So there was something in there called intelligent auto. So even within that, there is certain, I guess we could call fine tuning you can do. We usually try to say that that's like the old, if you remember the old tube TVs where there's the little knobs that you shouldn't touch. But if you have a very specific applications, there is some like really deep settings that you can tune for that. But with the AI, primarily what it's looking after is basically speed of objects and what kind of object is it? Like, is it a human? Is there a car? And judging light levels and adjusting shutter speed and exposure and all that.
Okay. Next question, is the AI smart coding only available to work on Panasonic servers, or will it work on third-party servers?
So it can work on when you say third-party server, I'm assuming you're talking about a non-Panasonic recording platform. It can work. We'd have to be specific of which partner you're referring to. So I know with our own VMS, the smart coding and our own recorders, it does work. So we'll have to let's reach out to myself or Zoran, and we'll talk about exactly which platform it is, because not all recording platforms are created equal. But if they do support that, and it's mostly to do with the way the specific VMS does playback, if they do support that, then that's basically done on the camera side.
Okay. Next question, what are the rough costs per iPro camera indoor outdoors?
So I think cost, so we sell through, Zoran, do you want to take this one or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We have a few different channels. We have a few different price levels based on, day-to-day versus project business. I think the best bet would be just to contact me directly, tell me who you are. And, there's not a lot of this product out there, so it's hard to say whether we are, at the high end or the low end. This is a brand new technology, but reach out to me directly and I'll set you up with some pricing depending on which level you are.
Okay, thank you. Next one up, can you apply privacy masks for specific areas only when motion, define areas where no privacy masks will be applied?
So
Want me
that's,
to reread
sorry.
that, or you got all that?
No, I got all that. It's fine.
Okay.
Actually, that's a very good question and very perceptive, whoever wrote that one. So at the current firmware, it's basically, it selects the entire scene. But we've actually requested that feature, and on the next firmware update for feature release, which I believe will be end of March, that is, or Q1, which is after April, that is a feature that we will be adding to basically with Privacy Guard. You're going to be able to set a specific zone. So if you remember that video of the retail store, and there was the clerk behind the counter, and then there was customers. So what you're going to be able to do is basically select the clerk behind the store as to be Privacy Guard, but then anybody else on the other side, it will just be unmasked. So that is a feature that is coming on the next firmware release for these cameras, I should say.
Okay, thank you. Next up, can AI tech detect fire, smoke, and steam and provide events for each one of these situations?
So the AI tech analytics basically run on board, and then they're using our SDK. So basically the outputs from the AI tech AI will be the same as they would from the Panasonic built-in ones, right? So if you've set up basically let's say smoke detection, if your VMS can support it, and if it's integrated, it'll just receive those same ones using our own protocol because it's using our SDK. So this, I guess, holds true for any third-party analytic that will run on our camera. As far as how it does the output or it sends that metadata, it would be the same for all of them.
Okay, thank you. Next question, do the cameras work with a Panasonic DVR Cloud?
So what was the last one, Steve? Cloud?
Yes, cloud.
Yeah, so the cameras are basically an IoT device or basically an IP device. So if you can check the compatibility list on whether it's integrated or on VIF. So right out of the box, even if you're not using any analytics, the video stream will be compatible with any recording platform, or they're either directly integrated or on VIF.
Okay.
Even cloud-based ones. So yeah, sorry.
Thank you. What level of smoke/fire detection sensing is possible? Early stage detection or only flaming fire?
So I think that may be something we have to follow up with you, because that is specific to AI tech and not very specific to our cameras. So if that's something you need, I think maybe your primary point of contact, just reach out to Zoran, and then he'll loop myself and some of the technical team in, and we can be very precise exactly of what your requirements are. Because like with any analytics, it all depends on what your application or your scenario is. So we can't really give you a really detailed answer without knowing a little bit more about the application. So I would suggest maybe reach out to Zoran, and then he'll loop myself in our technical team, and we'll look at that in a bit more detail.
Okay. We're in people counting and vehicle counting business. What is the accuracy of counting if the camera is properly installed and has a view from the top of the person or vehicle?
Again, I think that's very specific to the actual plugin they have installed, right? So let's say you have company A that has a certain people counting or vehicle counting plugin, and then maybe you have AI tech, and maybe you have company B. So the counting and the accuracy is only as good as basically the algorithm or the AI plugin itself. So again, that's, I guess, same as the last question. That's something we'd have to look at specifically what the application is and which plugin you're referring to, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, and one last question. Have a power supply additional, like battery, in case of interruptions of energy?
Sorry, does it have it? The question
I'm guessing the question is, do you have an additional power supply, like a battery?
Oh, okay, I understand. So These cameras can be powered with two sources simultaneously, so they can take your traditional 48 volts PoE through the Ethernet connector. They also have a secondary 12 volts DC power input as well. So in the case where they don't have a specific battery, but if you had a 12 volt, an alternate 12 volt power source, i.e. a battery as you're referring to, if for some reason you lost PoE power, there's actually also a built-in SD card slot, so the camera can record on board as well. And if you have the 12 volt power supply there, it'll basically keep and recording. And just to add a little bit to that is, if that is the scenario where you're losing power and you're running on backup 12 volts and you are recording on the SD card, our recorders and our VMS Video Insight, and I believe some others as well, have the ability to record locally on the SD card, and then upon the connection being regained, to basically take that missing video and upload it back to the server.
Okay, thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you for joining us. And once again, thank you to Zoran and Rui and Panasonic Canada for their support. We look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, be well.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again, Steve.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.